Survive in the crowd. Thrive on the edge. Well, this is The Edge, and from the start, let me be very, very clear. This is a no politics zone, all of it. No politics in this room, ever. The Edge is about life lived under pressure. It's not a commentary. It's not left versus right. It's something bigger. It's a proving ground. It's about surviving the fire. It's about grit. It's about standing after the hardest hits. I know something about fire. I stood on the diamond as a professional baseball player. You learn fast out there. The game doesn't care about your excuses. Doesn't care what happened last night or what's going to happen tomorrow to you. The game wants you to perform now. You strike out, the whole crowd sees it. The whole world sees it. If you fail in front of everyone. Baseball teaches that resilience is a choice, and it's the only way forward. Then I walked into the chaos of Wall Street's trading pits. No comfort, no mercy, no crying towels, just noise, lots of noise, and a ton of risk. And the demand to act when millions of dollars hang in the balance on every decision you make. That crucible taught me how to stand tall in the storm, how to make decisions with fire breathing down your neck. From there, I stepped into the brightest lights of all, the anchor desk, the cameras, the stage of Fox News at its peak. I was the center seat on the 5. I started that show. I launched that show in the center seat for 6 years. I sat in Bill O'Reilly's chair at the very height of his reign. Lights are hot, the pressure's brutal, and you either hold your ground or you get eaten alive. That fire taught me something else. In front of millions of people, you can't fake toughness. You're either forged by it or you're consumed by it. And then came the fire no one ever wants to face. The fire that had nothing to do with sports or money or ratings. The fire of losing my only child, my only son, fentanyl. One pill, one moment, and he was gone in college. That's a wound that doesn't heal. It's a fire that never goes out. But I stand here anyway, scarred, yep, sure, broken, absolutely, in places, but not destroyed. Because the edge is about this. Even when life takes everything from you, you find a way to get back up. So understand this. The Edge, it's not a political show. It's a forge. It's a furnace. It's fire and we're steel. It's teaching risk, resilience, and the relentless drive to rise again. If you're here, it's because you know deep down, you've got more inside of you. You've been hit, you've been knocked down, and you're ready to rise again. The Edge gives you permission. It gives you clarity. It gives you fuel to get back up. It's not commentary, not politics. This is The Edge. And if you're still standing, step into the fire with me. All right, for the first guest, of course, The Edge wants someone with grit, with resilience, with perseverance. Who else than the Hall of Fame quarterback, Brett Favre, who spent 20 years in the NFL. 16 of those years, he started every single game. The longest starting streak in the history of the NFL for quarterbacks. We all knew a lot of those statistics, but there's some things that we find out in the next few minutes about Brett Favre that most of us never, ever heard before. He opens up, he digs deep into his soul, and you'll hear some very interesting things about number 4, Brett Favre. All right, let's bring in a good friend of mine, also Hall of Fame quarterback, and I've always said this, if there's a Mount Rushmore for quarterbacks, this man would be on it. Brett Favre. Brett, good to have you on the launch episode of The Edge. We're all about grit, perseverance, toughness, no politics zone, all about the things that make men, especially men that succeed. You've been called the toughest quarterback in the history of the game. A guy started 297 times in a row, consecutive starts, in a season now in a football league that you can't get a quarterback to finish a full season anymore at all. Look at the Cincinnati quarterback, Joe Burrow, goes down over the weekend. Brett, tough guy. What do you attribute all that perseverance to? Tell us how it started.
Well, you were right. It feels like 900 starts. But you know, I never, I always wanted to play pro football, but I never envisioned consecutive starts or Pro Bowls or Hall of Fame, things like that. That was all. Well, first of all, none of those things would be possible had I not played and played every week. Uh, you know, I remember when I got the game ball for then the consecutive start record. Ron Jaworski had it. I think it was like 116 games. We were playing at home, and they stopped the game, gave me a ball. Jaworski was there. And I remember thinking to myself, what's the big deal? It's only 116 games. Little did I know I would blow that out of the water. And I think the way I was raised, it's been well documented with my dad and his, long and tough love, short on attaboys. You did a good job. And I also remembered how I got my job. Don Mikowski was the starter. He got hurt. They threw me in. I wasn't quite ready. I had not taken any first team reps, but the opportunity was there. And I just gave it everything I could. And little did I know, 19 years later, I would still be starting. So, I think.
I remember that. Brett, I remember your first game. I remember watching the game because everyone's wondering, when's Favre getting in? When are they going to put him in? And Mikowski was doing all right, but we all wanted to see Brett Favre. We all wanted, the whole fan base wanted to see what Favre could do because we knew you were going to be a great pro, but you never saw it because Mikowski wasn't that old. It's like, are they going to trade him? How are we going to get to see Brett Favre on the field? Tell me about those moments when you knew we all knew you should have been starting. It's tough to replace a starting quarterback with a rookie, but tell me what goes through a guy's mind to keep you in the game.
Well, what's difficult about it is you're used to being the guy, and you were the guy in college. Now all of a sudden you're just a guy. Some guys in the team may not even know your name, and that's a hard adjustment. It's a waiting game. In today's game, it's not so much a waiting game. A lot of these guys are thrust into the starting position, but to be honest, they're as ready as most veterans just because of the style of offenses that they play in college. But for me, to be patient was very hard. I understood the process, but I was very eager to play. I felt like I just needed a chance. When that chance would come, who knows? I think, in my case, it came sooner than I had expected because the first game of that year, we played Minnesota in Green Bay. Don Mikowski played unbelievably well, and we lost in overtime. And I remember thinking, I'll never see the field. This guy, was unbelievable today. Now, granted, it was a loss, but he played great. So, it's tough because you want to win, but you want to play. And pulling for the starter is always a difficult way to approach it, but you have to do it, and you have to buy your time, and as best as you possibly can, you have to be prepared, knowing that you don't get first team reps. There's no excuses. So when you get thrust in there, you make plays or you eventually don't play. So I knew that this was an opportunity that may be my last, but I was not going to take it for granted. So, it's a difficult situation because patience is involved, and I was never a patient person.
The reason we're doing this podcast, we're doing sports, we're doing Wall Street, and we're doing TV and trauma, 4 pillars, 4 arenas, 4 fires I've been through. And what strikes me is what you were just saying there. You were the guy, and then you have the moment. And what do you do with the moment? I'll never forget this. I was a senior in college at Rollins College, and the big league Pirates came down to play us. And the whole team was, their butts were this tight, Brett, because the big league Pirates are there. All the scouts are there. All the coaches are there. Everyone wants to be drafted by anybody. Would be drafted by anybody. And I led off the second inning with a home run off Don Robinson over the left field fence. And I'll never forget rounding second, going to third, our home field. It was like, that was the moment, and it's those moments that you realize, and this is what this podcast is all about, separating those moments. How do we make sure we capitalize on those very rare and very few moments? I will tell you, the rest of the team, strikeout, pop out, nothing. Couldn't deliver. I hit a second one that went over the fence, and Bobby Bonilla was playing center field, caught the ball. I got drafted because of that day. And to this day, I think the rest of my life and my career kind of opened up because of that one day when I was 22 years old, and my mindset was, do it fucking now or it's never going to happen. Whereas a lot of people don't. So thank you for explaining that feeling of, I want to be on the field, but I want to win, but I want to be on that field.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first, you get in there, and not your first pass, your first big hit? And do you remember where it was and who did it?
Oh, well, I think the first time I actually was hurt, I was still blocked as a quarterback, especially in that era. It wasn't uncommon to be hit, whether it be late, early, on time, didn't matter. You were going to get hit. But the first really where I went, oh shit, that was, of all people, Reggie White. It was my second year as a starter. We played Philadelphia in Milwaukee. It was the last year that the Packers were going to play 3 home games in Milwaukee. And that was, I think, the first of that year. Reggie was with Philadelphia. They were loaded with veteran, good, just really good players. McMahon was on that team. Herschel Walker was on that team. Their defense was stacked. And, I was intimidated. When I looked across from me and saw Reggie White, the greatest defensive player, arguably, in history, he was 6'5", 330, and ran like a deer, could hurdle any blocker that tried to cut him. Well, he hurdled one of our blockers and picked me up and pile drive me into my left shoulder. And that was kind of an aha moment. I ended up finishing the game. I got ejected at halftime. We came back and beat them. But it was like, welcome to the big boys. And none other than the biggest of them all, Reggie White. Yeah. So it was a wake-up call.
He was mean. He was tough.
He was so nice. When I ended up playing with him, I couldn't believe this was Reggie White. He was the biggest teddy bear. But my gosh, when he put that football uniform on, the teddy bear was left at home.
Yeah. And you talk about playing, just remember the days quarterbacks got hit hard. You guys got hit, thrown around a lot. Now, Kansas City, I just watched the game the other day. I can't remember who it was. Someone put a hand on the guy on Mahomes' cage, just touched the cage, and he got thrown for roughing the passer. Incredible how much they're protecting the passers now. Only more credit to you lasting so many games without that injury. Let's talk a little bit. There had been dark days during the injuries where you weren't sure you're going to make it to the next start, but you did. Where did that come from? Where did that motivation come from?
Well, first of all, keep in mind how I got my opportunity to play. The guy in front of me got hurt. I go in, and I assumed I would be the starter for quite a long time, just from a confidence perspective. But you have to keep in the back of your mind, when you do get hurt or deemed up, sprained ankle, in my case, separated shoulder, remember how you got your job. So if I go out of the field, off the field, and the next guy comes in, it can be my last time to see the field. You never know. So you got to play with injuries. You got to play hurt. Football is that's the name of the game. Playing with injury, not just playing well. So I always remember when I got dinged up, remember how you got your job. But more importantly, I loved to play. And so injuries were just a part of it. And, I got back up, hit the defensive guy who hit me. I slapped him on the butt. Said, let's go.
Yeah.
Not that it didn't hurt, not that I didn't feel it, but I loved to play the game. And so I learned to play.
That's amazing. Yeah, you see guys bounce back and take a big hit and bounce back and smack the other guy that got hit him. Like, I mean, this is a game. I understand this is a game, but listen, you didn't beat me. You got me on that one. You didn't beat me. Well, okay, we can delve into this if it's all right. If you don't feel comfortable, you don't have to. At one point, you started, using a little bit to dull some of the pain that you were feeling. You've been very open with me in the past about it. If you want to, great, we'll explore it. If not, we understand as well. But tell us about those days.
Well, I mentioned the Reggie White injury. That really was the beginning of the pain pill addiction. So after the game, when the injection wore off, you can't imagine how much it hurt. We had to drive probably 2 hours from Milwaukee back to Green Bay. They gave me 2 pain pills. I didn't think I'd need them. Never had a pain pill issue before. I don't even know if I took pain pills prior to that. And it numbed the pain, but it also felt good. And so that was the beginning of a 5-6 year battle with pain pills. That at one point, it was 2 pills, but at the end there was 16 at one time. And I had 2 seizures. I can't tell you how many times I threw up because I was gagging trying to take these pills, and would throw up on the floor, pick them out of the throw up, and take them and put them back in my mouth. Now that's a major problem.
Why, Brett? Why is that? Were they hard to get?
Well, it got to a point where it was a gag effect or reflex, just trying to get these pills down. 16 vitamin ES at one time, or any pill at one time, is tough to. I don't know. Normal people don't take 16 pills at one time.
Well, I mean, what I meant was, were the team doctors not supply? I mean, rather than picking them up off the floor, I'll get another.
No, this was at Eric. This was at my worst, and I felt like no one knew when, in fact, a lot of people knew something was wrong. Now, if I would have went to the trainer and said, "Can I get 16 vitamin ES?" they would have said, "You're out of your damn mind." So I was at a point where I was taking 16 a night, and it was becoming very difficult to get 16 pills. I would network on the team. Hey guys, if you're not using your pain pills, I'll take them. And I would say I got a sprained ankle or something's bothering me. But it was getting to a point where, just think about it, 2 days I went to a month trip. So I'm thankful that I quit for a lot of reasons, but who knows, what lengths I would have gone to get these pills at some point.
Did you have to go out of the locker room at all? Did you have to find a dealer and help you?
No,
get through the...
Fortunately, at that time, I could get a strip for me. I would talk to another guy on the team and say, "See if you can get a strip." And I was constantly networking. And that's basically how I did it, through the guys on the team, thinking that, if I go through 30 guys, they'll never know.
Now, could you play high, Brett? I mean, you're very talented.
I never took them before game. So I always took them at night. So if it was a night game, I would take them after the game. But if it was a 12 o'clock game, 9 o'clock at night, I would take it. So fortunately, I never used during the day. I got injections and things like that. That's different.
Right. How'd you stop? How'd you get off the pills?
Well, I spent 73 days in rehab in Topeka, Kansas, at a place called Menninger Clinic. I think it's since moved to Texas. And I was there 73 days because I thought I knew it all, and I thought they were idiots, and they've heard it all before. And so when I would buck the system, they would say, "That's 7 more days. That's 7 more days." You know, I punched the wall one time in an argument. 7 more days.
Mm.
And finally, I bought into what was going on and the education part of it, and, you know, relinquishing basically your will to, you know, this cause. It was hard, you know, because I'd won 2 MVPs in a row, was getting ready to win my 3rd and a Super Bowl. So you think, you know, I'm 26 years old. I'm thinking, I don't have a problem. I'm playing great. You know, I can't play any better. When in fact, I'd had 2 seizures. I was not sleeping. And my whole life revolved around getting these pills. So there was a major problem, you know, that was taking place at that time. And it took me probably halfway through that 73 days to see the light and admit that I got a problem. And once I did that, I don't want to say it became easy, but it became much easier.
What part of your life was this, Brett? What part of your life when we did this amount of time was it?
Well, when I came out of the treatment after the 73rd day, I had 1 day off before we started training camp. Deanna and I got married, and then I started training camp the next day, and then we went on and won the Super Bowl at the end of that year. So that was the '96 season.
You were clean the whole season.
The whole season. Now, haven't taken a pain pill since.
Mm-hmm.
Which, you know, there's been times where I thought I needed it.
Do you think, had you knocked on to the rehab, things you wouldn't have won the Super Bowl? You may have played different that year.
I think my career would have been shortened considerably because I was definitely spiraling out of control with no end in sight. You know, 16 would have been 18, 18 would have been 20.
That's the edge right there. The edge is, you're on the edge, could go either way, and the edge is sharp. It could slice you in half, or you figure out how to tame the fire and own it, and you did that. You did exactly that at that moment. That's powerful, powerful. Let's lighten it up a little. What is the craziest locker room story you can recall going on? Just give us, you know, behind the scenes a little bit. Yeah, I spent my share of months, years in locker rooms as well. It gets pretty raucous. Just tell us what you can tell us.
The craziest locker room season, and I'm not going to say a game because it was the season, was my first year in Atlanta. And I didn't play. Half the guys on the team, I don't think even knew who I was. Jerry Glanville was the coach.
John's laughing because Jerry Glanville was such a character. Big cowboy hat, the black clothes, cowboy boots. Yeah.
He was all that. You know, so in our locker room each week. Now you want to talk about a eclectic group. We would have MC Hammer in the locker room, and he was at his peak. He was too legit to quit. You know, it was a fever pitch with him. But we had Evander Holyfield, who would be in the locker room. Travis Tritt, George Jones, just to name a few. And every week there would be someone else. The speakers in the locker room were, just boom, boom, boom. You couldn't hear anything that your teammate was saying, and it was just pandemonium, chaos, week in and week out. And those guys were on the sideline. You never knew who was going to be there. But it was just so different from the normal routine in football that was my first experience as a pro football player. And I'm thinking, is this normal? Now I go to Green Bay and realize it's not normal. It's like the total opposite of normal. But it was crazy that year.
Did you play for Andy Reid in Green Bay? Who was your coach in Green Bay?
My first quarterback coach was Steve Mariucci. Loved him. We still have a great relationship. He left to go to Cal as the head coach. Andy's our tight end coach. Mike appointed him as the quarterback coach, so he moved up to QB coach. And I had Andy for 4 years. Andy, we talk all the time. Me and Mooch, me and Andy have a great relationship. So I was fortunate to have some great coaches.
Yeah, you are. Brett Favre has gone from a Hall of Fame quarterback to, kind of doing the celebrity endorsement types of things. It's a different world, though, isn't it? Because it's not the star and the lights that being the quarterback is or was. How do you handle it?
Great. I know a lot of guys that I played with, the transition has been a struggle. But for me, I was ready to retire. If you think about it, I played 20 years, 19 of those, I didn't miss a game. So there was nothing left for me to do. Sure, I would have loved to have won more games, won a Super Bowl or two more. But all in all, there was nothing left that, I could sit in my locker and say, I got to reach this. I got to reach this. All that stuff I had reached and then some. So for me, when I left the game, I've never looked back. People ask me all the time, do you miss it? And the answer is no. I don't. What I may miss, and it's a little, is the camaraderie, the chemistry that I have with the guys. Things that you wouldn't expect: plane rides, locker rooms, after practice, bus ride from.
Becomes your family. Becomes another family.
Right. I will miss 3rd and 10. We need you to get first and all.
I'm glad you brought that up. Let me ask you this. I know we don't have a ton more time with you, but a couple things I want to go quick. The tush push. You didn't have the tush push. I read a stat that Philadelphia Eagles tush push is running around a 90% success rate, third or fourth and one. League average about 84%. What would your stats be if you had the tush push when you were playing?
Well, I'm surprised that it's not 100%. I've never seen it stop, at least with Philadelphia. I think it's incredible. It's basically, what we're doing. Now it's up to you to stop it, and no one has been able to stop it. To me, that's incredible in the league with the great coaching and the talented guys that are lined up on the defensive front. They're not able to stop, which is incredible. But
it changes the draft. It changes the makeup of the team, right? As long as they're keeping it, and every year they're like, should we keep it or not? So far, it looks like they keep it. I think the fans love it. I guess it's mixed, but maybe the old school fans don't. But
I think the people who don't like it are the ones that can't stop.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The ones who haven't drafted big linemen in the last 4 or 5 drafts. Right, yeah. Right. What do you look? I'm looking at you. You got some veins vacillating on your throwing arm, and you're staying in shape. Well, is there a regimen? Is there a workout? What's your daily routine workout?
Well, I try to bike. I can't run. I have my hip replaced. I've had a couple of back surgeries. I was diagnosed with Parkinson's about 1.5 years ago. So biking is like the main thing that I do because from a wear and tear perspective, there's little to none. And I can stay in, somewhat good shape doing that. I do a little routine with weights, not much, just more maintaining. Every doctor I've met with in regards to Parkinson's has said the number one thing to counter the effects of Parkinson's is stay as active as you possibly can, whatever that may be. Because as you probably know, Parkinson's affects the motor's movement. Mine happens to be on the right side. So there's a certain amount of rigidity and stiffness that comes with it. On top of just getting older.
Brett, are you aware of it? I mean, is it noticeable to you?
Yeah.
And-
Yeah. I take medicine every 4 hours. And usually about 3.5 hours in, I can feel the symptoms starting to creep back in. Take the medication, and then I have, some freedom for about 3 hours, 3.5 hours, and we start over. But exercise seems to help with balance, and it's exercise, so it's got to help in general. So, you're hoping for a cure. In the meantime, you do all you can to stay as active and flexible and combat the rigidity and stiffness part of it.
Are you nervous? Are you scared?
I wasn't until probably the last 3 months when I was diagnosed a year and a half ago. My symptoms were very minor, very minor. And I think compared to other people who are later in the disease, they're still minor. But, you just mentioned that I noticed that my dexterity in my right hand, even with medication, is still suspect at best, like writing, doing something tedious, like got a screwdriver. I always have to use my left hand to help guide. And that's even with the medicine. That wasn't the case at first. So, yeah, it was kind of an aha moment when I noticed that the symptoms had gotten a little worse for not responding to medication. Because my main doctor, I think the world of, thanks Wendell. Wendell said, it's going to progress. How much? It really depends on the person. It's sort of like aging. Some people age gracefully. Some people age much quicker than the next. That's the way Parkinson's is. It may kind of stay mediocre, or it may progress rapidly. And so, 3 or 4 months ago, when I started noticing the symptoms not really responding to medication, was sort of all right, this is for real. And at first I was like, I'm going to beat this. And I still feel that way. But you're hoping that there's something that stops the progression or even cures it before it gets too far. Because wherever you are in the disease, if and when there is a cure or something that stops the progression, you're going to be where you are at that moment. You're not going to go back to, day one. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it is a little frightening.
I know you did a lot of work with CTE. Is there any indication by anyone that the head hits, exacerbated or possibly caused?
Well, Eric, I've seen 5 different specialists. One in Houston, one in Miami, one in West Virginia, my doctor here, and one in Switzerland. And they've all said the same thing. Definitively, we can't say where you got it if it's not in your family. And there's no history in my family. So there's the consensus is, based on all the head trauma, that's where it would start. But, there's no test that says football is what got. But, I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to figure out the head trauma would be the contributing factor. And you just look at all the CTE stories that we hear that seem to be happening more and more frequent due to concussions. So if I were a bet man, I would say that's where it came from.
Got it. Well, we're praying for you, brother. We feel for
Thank you.
Brett's a great friend of mine. Before we go, Brett, if Brett Favre wasn't a Hall of Fame quarterback, if something happened in high school or weren't drafted or never got in that game behind Magikowski, who would I be talking to Brett Favre the what? Would you be a movie star? Would you be garbage? What would it be? What would the non-football Brett Favre be had it not happened?
Well, I don't think it would be non-football. I think I'd be coaching high school football like my dad did. Because that's all I knew. We didn't farm. We didn't do mechanics. We didn't break down cars. we taught football, and my dad was the head coach for 35 years. And that's what I knew, and that's what I gravitated to. So I'm sure I would have been coaching.
Definitely in your blood, my friend. All right, folks, there it is, the first episode of The Edge, and we had, wow, what a guy, what a man who defines what The Edge is: perseverance, grit, toughness, getting back up, and he's got a battle he's going through right now. We're all thinking all positive things for you, Mr. Brett Favre. Thank you for
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me on.
And thanks for being a friend.
Yeah, love you.
You too, brother.